Imagine stepping back in time to an era of gladiators, philosophers, and a directive from the Bible saying women should remain silent in churches. Fast forward to today and it's evident how much has changed. But what about that age-old instruction? Controversial? Definitely. Misunderstood? Perhaps. Join us as we dive deep into 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verses 34 and 35, explore its historical roots, and unravel the mysteries of women's roles in the early Christian church. Get ready for an enlightening journey. Let's start at the source. The Bible states, "Women should remain silent in the churches. They are not allowed to speak but must be in submission, as the law says. If they want to inquire about something, they should ask their own husbands at home, for it is disgraceful for a woman to speak in the church." A powerful statement, isn't it? But like all texts, there's a story behind these words. Let's dive deeper to understand its context and implications. The Greco-Roman world of the first century was vastly different from our own. Women generally occupied a subordinate role in society. Public speaking by women was rare, and they were often expected to defer to men in public settings. This cultural backdrop provides crucial context for understanding the verses in question. The early Christian church was born in this milieu, interacting and sometimes clashing with these societal norms. Some argue that Paul's words in 1 Corinthians were a response to specific disruptive behaviors within the Corinthian church, rather than a universal mandate. As we delve into this topic, it's essential to remember the influence of time and place on any piece of writing. This perspective might shed light on whether Paul's directive was a timeless decree or a solution tailored to a particular situation. When examining the biblical text, it's intriguing to contrast it with Paul's other writings regarding women. For instance, in Romans 16, Paul commends several women for their significant roles in the church. Phoebe is described as a deacon, and Junia is even referred to as outstanding among the apostles. These acknowledgments suggest a recognition and appreciation for women's contributions to early Christianity. This poses a question: why the apparent discrepancy between the two letters? Was Paul contradicting himself, or is there a deeper context we're missing? As we continue, it's worth considering that perhaps the situation in Corinth was unique, requiring a specific approach rather than a blanket statement about women's roles across all churches. Delving into the world of biblical scholarship, there's an intriguing debate surrounding the authenticity of the verses in question. Some ancient manuscripts of 1 Corinthians place these verses in different locations within the chapter, or omit them altogether. This has led to speculation. Could these verses have been added later by scribes or editors? It's not uncommon for ancient texts to undergo variations over time due to copying and transmission. While this perspective isn't universally accepted, it underscores the complexities of biblical interpretation. When engaging with Scripture, it's essential to be aware of these textual intricacies, as they can influence our understanding and interpretation of the message. Fast forward to the present day and you'll find a tapestry of interpretations regarding these verses. Different Christian denominations and theological traditions have nuanced views on women's roles in the church, often rooted in their reading of the biblical text. On one hand, there's the Complementarian view. Proponents believe that men and women have distinct yet complementary roles in both the church and the home. They argue that certain leadership roles in the church are reserved exclusively for men, based on scriptures like the one in question. On the other hand, the Egalitarian perspective asserts that all roles in the church are open to both men and women, based on gifts and calling rather than gender. They point to other scriptures and historical context to support this stance, emphasizing equality in spiritual matters. The interpretation of these verses, thus, not only reflects theological beliefs but also shapes practices in congregations worldwide. As we navigate this topic, it's a reminder of the profound impact Scripture has on shaping beliefs, traditions, and everyday lives. Stepping back to look at the broader context of 1 Corinthians 14, the chapter primarily addresses orderly worship and the proper use of spiritual gifts within the church community. Paul emphasizes the importance of edifying the congregation and ensuring that everyone can understand and benefit from the worship experience. Given this overarching theme, the verses about women's silence can be viewed in the light of maintaining decorum and order during services. Additionally, the surrounding verses discuss the use of tongues and prophecy, underscoring the need for clarity and understanding in church gatherings. Paul's primary concern appears to be ensuring that worship remains a constructive and unifying experience for all. With this in mind, the directives regarding women may have been a specific solution to a unique challenge the Corinthian church was facing at the time. Rather than being a general comment on women's roles in all churches, It might have been a response to particular disruptions or issues that had arisen in Corinth. This broader context offers another lens through which to view and understand the verses, emphasizing the importance of cohesive and harmonious worship in the early Christian community. In navigating the intricate landscape of this controversial Bible passage, we've journeyed through history, delved into textual debates, and explored varied interpretations. The role of women in the early Christian church, as depicted in these verses, serves as a testament to the complex interplay of culture, tradition, and scripture. As with many biblical passages, understanding requires more than a surface reading. It demands a deep dive into context, history, and the broader tapestry of the scriptures. While interpretations may differ, the quest for understanding remains a unifying endeavor. As we wrap up, it's worth reflecting on the timeless nature of these discussions and the value of approaching scripture with an open heart and mind, ready to learn, question, and grow.